Hi, you guys. Welcome back. My name is Carrie Penny. I am the Happy Crafty Homemaker, and today I am very excited to be continuing our Understanding Our Fibers series. Today we're going to be talking about Rambouillet and Targhee wools. We're going to get more of a history lesson and kind of breeding lesson, I guess, with these, because these are both very heavily influenced by Merino. While they do have some differences from Merino, which we'll do a direct comparison with the Targhee versus the Merino. A lot of the characteristics of both of these wools are very, very similar, and is Rambouillet's history also influences Targhee's history. I thought these two would be very good to talk about together. So we're going to kind of skip back to being in the wools for a minute, and then I think our next video will actually have more to do with synthetics and biosynthetic yarns. So just heads up to know what's coming along. But anyway, let's crack on. I'm definitely going to have to look at my notes quite a bit here. I do have 2 pages of notes in my little notey book here. So first off, we have Rambouillet yarn. Now, I could not find, I know I have at least 3 hanks of Rambouillet here in my at-home store, and I could not remember for the life of me who the dyer was, so it made it impossible for me to specifically track it down. I do have an example on deck for Targhee, but I could not find the Rambouillet. So, and I just was not going to go buy Rambouillet just to film about it, as much as I would. I could write it off as just something for the channel. I couldn't justify it, to be honest. So I decided to be a good Carrie. So, history. In 1786, the King of Spain gifted 359 merino ewes and rams. So if you remember back when we talked about merino, one of the things was, Spain locked down merino breeding. This was one of their primary exports. This was the pride of Spain. So they really locked down merino wool and really did not want other people, messing around with the bloodline, so to speak, as far as their wool goes. So he gifted these sheep to the King of France. They were sent to the Rambouillet forest near Paris, where they've bred since 1801. They still breed in France there. The flock is still in existence. The Germans started breeding merinos in the late 1800s using the French stock. So Rambouillet really did start off as a merino sheep that kind of, through environmental changes, kind of developed a slightly different texture to the wool. But the breed is genetically still merino, which is why I said, we're going to have a lot less conversation about the differences in the wool. I would refer back to a lot of the stuff we talked about with merino, as a lot of those characteristics are still the same. But we do have Rambouillet wool, which is slightly different than merino wool. Make sure I've got American Rambouillet thrive in the native grasslands here in the U.S. because of the crossbreeding that was occurring. The American Association of Rambouillet wool, or Rambouillet sheep, was formed in the 1860s to kind of, once again, keep Rambouillet separate from other things and try to keep that breed as pure as possible. So as far as numbers of what's important to us. If you decide to raise one of your own, a ewe yields anywhere from 8 to 18 pounds of fleece. The staple length is 2 to 4 inches. The micron count is 18.5 to 24.5. It is naturally an oily fleece, which makes the cleaning process slightly different. It's a little bit more involved than just straight merino. It feels very, very similar to merino. However, the wool does have a little bit more bounce, which is one of the reasons why I like Rambouillet quite a bit. As far as the yarn, it not only has like a squish that I really love, especially I've played with some people's hand spun Rambouillet, and it's quite lovely, but it has this beautiful squish to it, but it also seems to come back into shape very easily compared to some other wools out there. Once again, like Merino, it's very, very soft against the skin. It's a little bit warmer than Merino. And I'm finding this to be true with a more kinky wool, the more texture that the locks themselves seem to have. They seem to make warmer products, warmer wools. I don't know if that's like a universal truth, but that does seem to be very common. I'm noticing the more texture the wool has to the locks, the warmer the final product tends to be. It has a little bit more loft than Merino. It's a high crimp. It's dense but not heavy and very durable. So once again, a lot of the very same characteristics we talked about with Merino. It does dye matte compared to Merino. Merino has a very high sheen, and I should have grabbed one of my non-superwash Merinos to share. This is a superwash Merino, but you can see that there is a sheen on this yarn still, even after being processed for superwash, which is one of the things we compared in the superwash, non-superwash wools. Call back to other videos if you want to go check those out. But yeah, it does dye matte. The sheen has been lost from the Merino to the Rambouillet. So there are actual differences that just occur from the natural environment. And one of the things that I was reading about American Rambouillet versus French and German Rambouillet is the crimp pattern is different and the loft is different because once again, I guess it's a little bit warmer and arid in a lot of the places where the Rambouillet grays here versus over in Europe. So even just that overseas transfer, it is different. It does make a difference in the final product of the wool in this case. So sliding on over to the Targhee sheep. Once again, very, very similar to Merino. A lot of the same information we covered with Merino. It is the North American answer to Merino wool. Named for the Idaho forest that it first grazed in. It was a breed mixed of Rambouillet, Lincoln, and Cordell ewes with Rambouillet rams. Why that is specifically important, I am not sure. But every single source that I was looking at was very specific about the ewes versus rams. I know nothing about animal husbandry. So I don't know why that is very specifically important to the breeding and crossbreeding of animals, but it does seem to actually make a real difference because previously one of the other wools I was looking at also was very specific about what type of ewes versus what type of rams were used to create this crossbreed. So I'm not sure. Once again, animal husbandry is a little too much for me to start researching to get into the nitty grits on that one. But I did think it was interesting. Every single source I went to, from breeders' information to dyers' information, spinners' information, yarn information, they all were very clear about the rams and the ewes. It was first established as a breed in the 1930s. This was a intentional breeding project from the U.S. Sheep Experiment Station in Idaho. And apparently the U.S. Sheep Experiment Station has kind of moved around the country, or they have different locations that work on different breeding projects. But this was an intentional breed created here in the U.S. in the 1930s. The Targhee Association was established in the 1950s, registered as a breed in 1952. It is a very young breed. So this is not a heavily established, 100 years of breeding. This is, we're about to hit 100 years of Targhee being bred. So kind of exciting. This is a younger breed of sheep overall. The micron count is 21 to 25 microns. It is considered a fine wool, staple length of 3 to 5 inches. Once again, as with Rambouillet and Merino, it really does take color very, very well. But like the Rambouillet, once again, you have a matte effect when comparing to the Merino wool. It's strong, it's elastic, it's lofty, as we already have seen with Merino and Rambouillet. It's as soft as Merino. It's airy and spongy, lightweight, easy to wear next to the skin. It's a great everyday wear wool. One of these sources I was looking at actually commented on Targhee in particular because of the lofty nature of it. It seems to be a far more breathable wool, even more so than Merino, which makes it suitable for all seasons wear. I've said before, I think wool blends in the summer are perfectly fine as long as you're using a lightweight fabric versus a thicker, heavyweight fabric. I do have some like t-shirt sweaters that I have made that have wool in them. I do find it to be a very breathable fabric, so you don't get that like claustrophobic in your clothes, heavy sweater type of a feeling, even living here in the Southeast. So I would believe that Targhee could make an excellent, I believe the statement that it could be excellent for all seasons wear. That does make sense, even though we don't think of wool as a summer fabric, especially where I live, where Modest cloth is very popular still down here. It has a lively crimp. This is another one that came up in every single source, just about, especially the spinning sources. The quote, lively crimp, was repeated over and over again. And once again, I thought that was very interesting that that is something that directly was communicated through multiple sources. It helps to keep even bulky weight sweaters, thicker sweaters, light and airy instead of getting that claustrophobic, heavy feeling. I think I have a picture I intended to put in here. It is by Christy Bieber. I wanted to give her credit for the photograph. It's one of the few where the photographer has been cited. But this is, I believe, the sheep. It's been a couple weeks since I made my notes, but I'm not entirely sure. So I did want to share with you guys. So I have a Targhee nylon blend and a Merino nylon blend from the same dyer. And I wanted to share with you guys what these look like in a side-by-side comparison. As I said, this is a super wash, so it is a slightly mattified Merino. But we have established that we still have a nice sheen here on this. This, on the other hand, is the Targhee blend. These are both from String Theory Colorworks. This is 80-20 Merino. This one is 90-10 nylon. And you really can see that sheen difference. And I think you can even see the spring difference to the yarn in the way the shapes of the plying have turned out. I mean, you can see how that just kind of wants to snap and pull. I know that plying and spinning have a lot to do with that as well, but this seems to have created a much lighter feel. But as far as like texture, you know, squishing them and feeling them, they are very, very similar. They don't, it's not like worlds apart from each other. And on the solid, you can very much tell this is a very, very matte yarn compared to the semi-sheen that we have on the superwash. Once again, same dyer, no difference there. So I thought that was very interesting because I did have the side-by-side comparison. I don't know if all of her bases come from the same source or not, the same mill or anything else. But I did think that that was a rather dramatic difference that I could, you know, very much show that side-by-side comparison of what the dye looks. But you can tell like both of these are super saturated colors. We have nice, crisp, they're not quite pastels, but, you know, softer tones here. And once again, even with the Merino, it takes dye beautifully well established. Everybody loves dyeing merino. So I did think it was very interesting to share that direct comparison. I wish I could find the Rambouillet so I could also add that to the comparison as well. But like I said, I'm trying to be good and not buy all the yarns. It's very hard as much as I want to not expand dramatically what I already own. I do enjoy playing with different things. But I thought it was very fascinating. I thought it was a very interesting combination. The fact that we think of some of these wool breeds as being so dramatically different from each other, but very similar traits are common, mostly because of the common ancestry with that merino wool. So we did also talk about Cordell in a previous video as well. So if you wanted to go check that out, so you have a little bit more of an understanding of the combinations that came into the Targhee wool to make that. But anyway, I hope you guys are having a wonderful, fantastic day. I look forward to seeing you real soon. I don't want to keep you any longer than I have to. So please take care. I love you guys. Bye.